This is episode 18 of The Inside Line on Wisp Sports Radio. The Inside Line is the only podcast focused on women's alpine ski racing, coming to you year-round from the World Cup circuit and beyond. The Inside Line is a co-production of Ski Racing Media and Wisp Sports. I'm Gabbi Hall, and at Wisp Sports, we believe women in sport deserve equal coverage. Welcome back, everyone. On our last episode, you might remember that I chatted with Jacqueline Wiles of the U.S. ski team all about her comeback. And in my intro, I mentioned her fellow World Cup athlete, Ilka Stuhec, who tore her ACL last fall and missed the entirety of the Olympic season. And I put it out there in the universe that I was hoping to have her on the show. And it kind of seems like the podcast gods are hearing me, which is really exciting because I'm pleased to say that she is this week's guest on the show. But before we get into our chat, we have some news to catch up on, and I wanted to start off with fresh tracks. So let's kick things off with news out of Austria. Julia Grunwald, the slalom specialist, has been on the national team for almost a decade, and she announced her retirement this week. She had a knee injury a couple years ago that's kept her from skiing at her highest level, and she decided to move on to other pursuits like finishing her college degree. And meanwhile, Austria has actually named next season's national team. And I always like to pay attention to Austria. They're obviously a huge powerhouse nation in this sport, and they bring a lot of big names to the table. Anna Veit, the Super G silver medalist from the Olympics this year, as well as 2015 World Cup overall title winner, is the leader of their women's team, in my view. And they also have Katarina Gachhuber, the surprise bronze medalist from the slalom at the Olympic Games. She's also Austrian, and she was unsurprisingly named to their national team as well. And I think it's interesting to look at their team for next season while also considering, their performances lasting on the World Cup outside of the Olympics. Because the top Austrian in the 2018 Women's World Cup overall standings was Bernadette Schild, and she was 14th in the rankings. Anna Veit was 15th in the overall standings. And no Austrian woman won any discipline globes last year. Though Anna Veit was third in the Super G standings. But still, Austria won the Nations Cup, which is a team ranking at the end of the season. So even though we didn't see Austrians on the podium in every World Cup race every weekend, they were really consistent over the course of the season, and they have really incredible depth, where they have a lot of women who can be in the top 15, also in the top 30, scoring World Cup points. So it will be interesting to see if any one individual can step up and become more of an overall threat in the coming season or even coming seasons. But definitely keep an eye on that Austrian team. I mean, especially people like Stephanie Brunner in giant slalom. Bernadette Schild in slalom. She has these moments where she's close to winning. She's won first runs. And so I'm hoping we'll see her become more of a contender as well. A little closer to home, we have another retirement. Georgia Simmerling from Canada announced her retirement this morning from Alpine Canada. And if that name doesn't ring a bell, that's probably because she hasn't been in alpine skiing for a while. She was on the World Cup tour up until 2010, competed in the Olympic Games for Canada in alpine skiing. And in the last several years, Georgia's actually been competing in skier cross. And then she got injured doing skier cross and got into track cycling. And she competed in the Summer Games in Rio. So at 29 years old, Georgia Simmerling is the only Canadian athlete to compete in 3 different Olympic Games in 3 different sports. So obviously a total badass athlete. And she was actually on track to compete in her 4th Olympics this past season in Pyeongchang in skier cross yet again. But fate had other things in mind. She crashed before the games, tore several ligaments in her knees, and obviously that kept her out for the rest of the season. Now, she underwent surgery. She has been in the process of rehab with the ultimate goal of rejoining the Cycling Canada team and going for her 2nd Summer Olympic Games and 4th Olympic Games in Tokyo in 2020. And in her retirement press release, she said, "It's a bit daunting, but I'm really excited to get back to a sport that I have more information about than I did the last time I started it. With my personal successes in cycling and with my teammates, I'm really excited about the prospect of being on a team again." It's crazy to think of where I'll be in the next few months. I'm excited to see where this journey takes me, and knowing that I have the support from my winter and summer teammates is huge. And I think what's interesting about her story is that the reason she got into cycling is because of her injuries in ski racing. So she had injuries in her arm, and so her rehab and fitness really started with cycling. And she got into that and ended up competing in Rio. And now with her injuries in skiing, she's decided to hang up her skis and focus on cycling yet again, working towards the next Summer Olympic Games. But I think she's an incredible athlete. You know, obviously people will miss watching her in skiing, and I wish her all the best. But my only real question next is, what sport will she pick up after cycling? And I'm curious if she and Esther Ledeska are exchanging notes on how to crush it in multiple sports, because that is a conversation where I would love to be on the fly on the wall. And I think looking at these women who are doing multiple sports plays into this conversation about early specialization. Excuse me, you guys, early specialization and whether or not, you know, kids need to be focused on one sport early on, or whether it's advantageous to do multiple sports long term. And I think these women are proving that it's advantageous not only to do multiple sports, but that you can do them at a very elite level. So instead of being a fly on the wall for that theoretical conversation between Esther Ledeska and Georgia Simmerling, you guys are actually going to get to be a fly on the wall for my conversation with this week's guest, Ilka Stuhec. And here's your refresher on Ilka in case your memory is a little fuzzy. So Ilka's from Slovenia, and she flew into headlines in the 2016-17 season when she won her first World Cup in Lake Louise, coming from bib 29. But Ilka was actually successful long before that World Cup win. She was a 3-time junior world champion. She had gold medals from junior world championships in slalom, alpine combined, and downhill. So talented across several disciplines. And, you know, she's been competing with the best in the world for quite a while at this point. So, you know, the year she won the alpine combined, which was 2007, it was the same year that Liechtenstein's Tina Weirater and Switzerland's Lara Gut went 1-2 in the junior world championships downhill. So that group of women has been competing together for a long time. But Ilka was unfortunate in that she suffered from several injuries along the way. And so I think that kept her from rising to her true potential until just very recently. So in 2017, she regained her momentum after overcoming multiple injuries, and then ended the season with a couple World Cup globes. And, you know, unfortunately, she tore her ACL in October, which kept her off snow for the Olympic season. But of course, she was kept busy with rehab and some other surprising activities. And we were able to catch up last week while she was home between ski camps in Slovenia to chat all about her progress and when she plans to return to the World Cup tour. Before I play the interview for you, I do need to share one warning/apology before you listen. Sometimes when you're dealing with cell phones like technology, audio just does not come through perfectly clear. Technology is imperfect at this point in our world, and I look forward to when audio recording is an easy science. But despite our best technological troubleshooting and efforts, there is crackling in this audio recording. I apologize for the issue, and I hope you still enjoy the interview. Well, hey, Ilka, thank you so much for calling in today. I'm so glad to have you on this week's show. How are you doing?
Hi, it's nice to be here. I'm doing well, thank you. It's been pretty busy again with trainings and everything, so yeah, everything is running smoothly.
Nice, and it looks like it's getting to be summertime there. I mean, I saw you went out rowing the other day. How are things going in Slovenia?
It's going pretty well. Also, summer, it's almost here, then it leaves again for a few days or something. The weather is changing quite a lot. So, yeah, we did get a chance to get out and row on the water. And, yeah, we're going skiing soon, so this will have to wait again. But otherwise, it's really nice at this time here.
Nice. You know, I actually saw that you've been back on snow, it seems like, for a couple months now. I mean, you were skiing in France a couple weeks ago. How was that?
It was really awesome. I mean, somewhere in the middle of rehab, I was like, okay, we used to go ski in France for 1st of May vacation all the time with the ski club when I was little. So I thought, okay, I have quite some time now, and I would really like to go to just free ski, to enjoy, And we went, and it was really good. The weather was perfect. So, yeah, I couldn't ask for more.
Have you started training in gates yet, or are you just free skiing right now?
No, I've been training a little bit in gates as well. As much as we could. We skied here in Maribor on Pohorja at home. And yeah, we also did a mini camp somewhere in Austria, but it's going to start pretty seriously now next week.
Nice. And where are you headed next week?
We're heading to Kaunertal in Austria as well.
Nice. So, I mean, based on what you're saying, it sounds like your knee is in pretty good shape. I mean, are you still in pain, or how is the recovery going?
Well, I would say that recovery it's done because the knee is working really, really well. So I'm back to normal, I would say. I can do physical training, I can do skiing, I can do pretty much everything what I did before. So now it's just about to get the right amount of muscle back. It's a little bit still missing, but yeah, we're working on that. And yeah, then to like get back all the great skiing feelings, and I'll be ready.
And you know, I have to imagine it was pretty tough to be on the sidelines this season and not be racing. You know, what was the hardest part for you about watching the season and not being able to compete?
Yeah, like you said, it's been pretty tough. Like first peak was when the speed races started in Lake Louise, because I won there last year, so I really, really wanted to go there again this year. But yeah, just watching it from home felt like it was missing so much, and I felt really bad to watch it from home. But every next race was a little bit easier until we get to the second peak, which was Winter Olympics, obviously. But I was still like very motivated to wake up in the middle of the night almost, because most of the races were going on at 2 or 3 in the morning here. So yeah, I was waking up watching girls and the guys, of course, race. And first of all, it was pretty hard, but then, I mean, I had to just go with it, you know. I couldn't be there, so yeah, I had to wish everyone good luck and just enjoy the show.
Was there one Olympic performance that really stuck out to you? I mean, as a spectator, was there one thing that was like really exciting when you watched it?
Well, I don't really remember something that stayed that much in my head, because, well, I would if I would be there, I guess, right? So, yeah, I mean, I watched it like all the other races, and I was super happy about the results that came out, about the people that won the medals. They really deserved them. So, yeah, but after it was over, and I had to focus on my work again to get back.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, despite the fact that you weren't racing, it looked like you got to do some cool stuff and be involved still. So I saw that you were on Dancing with the Stars Slovenia.
Yeah, exactly. I was.
So how did you get involved with that?
Well, I think my PR got the invitation if I want to join it. And I mean, yeah, I was doing some physical training and skiing as well as normal. And I said, okay, why not? I love to dance since forever. So let's try it. And I have to say, I was really so nervous before the show. But yeah, luckily I know how to handle the stress and nervous and everything. So yeah, once we started to dance, it was just like enjoying and excitement. So it was really fun. But at the same time, it was, I would say, a little bit like getting ready to race again. So that was also a cool part. Plus the heels and the dress and all the girly stuff.
Yeah, it's so fun and different from wearing a speed suit. Because I saw the photo you posted on Instagram of like that you had like a black dress on or whatever,
Yeah.
probably for like a salsa or something. It was fabulous.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, is it strange at all to be famous in a way that someone asks you to be on Dancing with the Stars? Has that been weird at all for you?
Good question. I would say not really, because it's well, last year I didn't really know what's going on at home here in Maribor in Slovenia during the season, because I was always away and racing. And people were really into it, you know, everyone was watching, everyone was cheering, and even now a year later, or I don't know, everyone mostly, when I go at home, is still people, you know, asking me and congratulating me for all the great results, and they want a picture or autograph or something. So it's I don't know, they kind of just remembered that maybe I'm home and maybe I have some time, because well, part of me would for sure like to do the whole show, like competing like every week and everything, but I really don't have that much time. So I said, well, yeah, I could do like a few days. That's fine. That's gonna work with other plans to get really ready for skiing. So yeah, it was really fun. I'm glad I did it.
And on kind of another note, I remember in an interview last year, you said that you were also taking classes in economics at a university in Slovenia. And I was curious if you continued taking classes this winter and if you're still studying to get a degree.
Yeah, I managed to do 2 exams, actually. I wanted to do more, but well, first, let's say month or 2 months after surgery, I had a lot more time because I was just doing therapy and couldn't do much of physical training. So I said, okay, yeah, now I can study. I was really motivated. And then I did the 1 exam and the 2nd exam, and I was like, okay, I did something. I could do more, but at the same time, I kind of had more and more things to do. I had more physical trainings. I could enjoy a little time at home with my sister, with her daughters. I mean, with my nieces. So I said, well, yeah, okay, I'll just enjoy the time and do school else. I have no idea, but not now.
So how far away are you from getting your degree? I'm not familiar with how because you talk about exams. So how many exams do you have left?
I have exam class, sort of the same. I have 6 more exams or classes.
So you're not too far. You're close.
Yeah. No, not really. Yeah. It might take a while though, but it's not that far.
I'm trying to think if there's, I think one of the things I think is really inspiring about your career is that you have come back from so many injuries. I mean, this is certainly not your first, although I think it might be your first in your left leg.
Yeah, exactly.
What advice would you have for like a young skier who's maybe going through their first injury? I mean, what's the best advice you can give someone who's trying to come back to ski racing?
Well, the first one would definitely be don't rush, because, I mean, you already lost a lot of time when you were injured, but you don't need to, rush things and want to push too hard to get back as soon as possible, because then you're not maybe that healthy yet, and your body is not ready, but just take time and keep going. You will know, you will get the feelings, everything will get back. Just don't rush things, and just believe in yourself. If you can do it more, you will find this one as well. So yeah, just keep going.
When can we expect to see you back on the World Cup? Do you think we'll see you in Lake Louise, or do you kind of want to race in Solden? What can we expect?
I'm not really 100% familiar with the plan that my coaches made, but I think Lake Louise, it's definitely more possible that Solden or Levi, because yeah, I mean, I do have time the whole spring and summer to get ready, but at the same time, it would be the first race after almost 2 years. No, wait, 1.5 year. Sorry. So yeah, I really want to be ready and not just be ready as coming back from the injury, but really to go full on attacking the course again.
Awesome. Well, I am so excited to see you back at Lake Louise next season. I know everyone's really missed you on the circuit. And thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks a lot to you as well.
Thanks again to Ilka for being on the show. Who knew she was a dancer in a past life? I'm always learning new things about these athletes, and that's why I love to do this show. If you're interested in learning more about Ilka, I wrote a profile on her last season, and I will put that in the show notes. It just gives you a little bit of a look into her history. I should also share that in a press conference just days after our interview, she announced her new ski technician, which will be an interesting shakeup for her team heading into next season. And I'm curious to see how she does in the coming months. And thanks again to all of you who listened in despite the audio issues. I know it's not ideal. And as a perfectionist myself, it pains me a little bit, but I'm grateful that Ilka was able to come on the show. And hopefully I can have her back on next winter for an in-person chat when we're back on the White Circus. Before I sign off, I do want to bring your attention to one more thing. As always, I want to remind you that With Sports, which co-produces this show with Ski Racing Media, is running a Patreon campaign. If you're not familiar with Patreon, it's essentially a Kickstarter campaign for podcasting and other creative individuals. And WISP is doing a lot to draw more attention to women's sports, not just ski racing, but also things like rugby, rowing, sailing, cycling, and more. I'll put a link to the campaign in the show notes, and I hope you'll go check out the campaign, become a supporter, and help us so that we can continue promoting women in this sport. As always, if you guys are loving the podcast, please leave a 5-star review of WISP Sports Radio on iTunes. I also welcome any ideas for guests or issues you'd like to see discussed on this podcast. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is hall_Gabbi, and I look forward to hearing from you. More episodes of The Inside Line can be found at wisports.com, skiracing.com, and on any podcast player. Just search for WISP Sports Radio. WISP Sports Radio is the world's largest podcast network for women's sports with a global reach of 1.8 million. For more conversations from the world of women's sport, visit us at wisports.com and follow us on social media at wisports and at Ski Racing Media. I'll be back in 2 weeks' time with another episode of The Inside Line.